75 to 80% of Americans take medications, and 50% of those take more than 4 medications a day. Our guest today takes 0 medications, and she has more energy than most 30-year-olds. Her healthy lifestyle also includes healthy relationships, because we all know if you have grandchildren, there's like this special bond, this really beautiful thing that unfolds in terms of that relationship with your grandchildren. Sometimes grandparents have a hard time keeping up with the grandkids, but not Judy. So stick around today, because you're going to meet Judy, and we reference her, and a lot of people do, as the Energizer Grandma, who has the bounce of Tigger and the positive attitude that literally has connected all 3 generations in her family. So she's going to share so much today about her health and wellness around that. But my name is Cheryl Bassett, and I am founder of Unstoppable Connections, international bestseller, and creator of the award-winning Unstoppable Family Meeting Toolkit. I am also the host of this show, Kitchen Table Conversation, as part of the Edge Network. So families do tap into my 4 gifts, which was really an unfolding of my family in terms of how we embraced these 4 gifts. They create an unshakable, unbreakable foundation that connects families for life. You can discover more about those 4 gifts and my work for connecting families at unstoppableconnections.com. And you can also check out about if you have an idea for the show, or if you would like to be on the show, you can go to kitchentableconversations.com. Now, before we get started, I want to set an intention for this show. And I do this for every show, because what we do here is we kind of tackle the fun stuff to the tough stuff and everything in between, because it's designed to ignite a conversation, to strengthen our families, and to create a positive ripple out into the world. So the show also harnesses one of the gifts, which is the 4th gift, the gift of love. And we unwrap that gift by choosing to celebrate ourselves and others. So it's with that thought and that heart that we come to every show to celebrate the person who came here today to share with us their talent and their passion. And that, for us today, is Judy Stoof. And what I want to do before I bring Judy onto the screen and you get to see her beautiful smiling face is to just tell you a little bit more about her. Judy's unbounding energy has opened many doors and fostered numerous connections and opportunities throughout her life. She's an entrepreneur at heart, which I speak to, and she's currently has her own speakers bureau. Over the span of her career, though, she was an elementary school teacher, an office manager, recruiter, sales rep, and she has served with many organizations, contributing her time and her talent and her heart. Judy is best described as a self-motivated people person. You're going to find that out. Her positive attitude and open mind in this ever-changing world has allowed her to embrace life full on, experiencing life with joy. She has had, by any measure, a successful career. And guess what? She's not done yet. So today is a new experience for her, and I am so excited to have her come on to join us. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Cheryl.
How are you today?
I'm just fine.
Good.
Just
good.
fine.
Good. So this is a new experience for you.
Yes, it is. Very new.
Good for you. So I didn't introduce how old you are, but I did say you rival 30-year-olds. But so once you go ahead and tell everyone what age you are, how young you are, I should say.
Yes. At this particular moment, I am 77, but here in a couple of months, I'll be 78, which I love telling people because they look at me and say, "You don't look this old." And in fact, I met a lady the other day in line at Walmart, and she's telling me she has great grandchildren, and she's 70 years old. And I looked at her and I said, "Well, I'm almost 78, but I don't have any great grandchildren." She kind of looked at me like,
Well, and here's the thing is, not only do you not look it, but you don't act it. And
I have fun.
I say that in a positive way, but because you really do. I mean, when I tell people about you, and I've known you for a long time, but I still say it, like you're like Tigger on, caffeine. So,
well, I keep moving and learning something new every day, and I think that helps to keep you young.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't look back that, we're in an age of computers and, they weren't around back when I was in college. let alone high school.
Yeah.
So you have to go with the flow.
Yeah, you do. And you've embraced all of it. I mean, I know you just like, I mean, I remember meeting with you and you're telling me like, have you been on Twitter? Have you been on, LinkedIn? I mean, you're like full on into all of that. And a lot of times there's this kind of like barrier that people put up and they don't want to learn something new. So, but that's not how you roll.
No, they're afraid of it,
Yeah.
And I have to get help. But with the 6 grandkids, they're the ones that got me involved with all the social media. And it's a way for me to communicate with them now that they're adults.
Yeah. That's a good point, right? Because you want to stay connected to your grandkids, for sure. And we're going to talk a lot about that. But I know you mentioned, because you sent me some information about some things I didn't know about you. But you're a mother who addressed, you had a mother who addressed really the healthy environment early on when you were young. So obviously this is this thing where, we sort of create those habits. So tell me a little bit about that and what that looked like for you growing up, because I think that was the start of it, right?
Yes, it was. Mother was before her time.
Mm-hmm.
She became involved with researching, learning in the early 50s, the early 1950s, read books on it and that. So she brought all of that to the kitchen table, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
We ate fresh produce. We lived on 7 acres, so there were wild strawberries. I can remember, elderberries, all that kind of stuff. She had it, and she loved to cook. And I think I have picked up on a lot of her things that she enjoyed, because I love to cook, and I love to cook from scratch. I didn't really appreciate Mom and what she was giving out until I had a family of my own.
Yeah.
And realized how important that is.
Yeah.
Good health.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a garden that now, don't you?
I have an herb garden, and I hope to have a vegetable garden this summer, or it just depends on how the spring goes.
Yes.
But I've grown plants from seeds. I bought plants. It's the way we live with fresh vegetables. So when summer comes and I can go out and pick that first tomato, nothing like a fresh tomato, a ripe fresh tomato.
Yeah, I agree. So, and for those of you who maybe are watching or listening to this, Judy and I both live in Ohio. So when she says unpredictable spring, unpredictable spring. So, and I know that the other thing we kind of talked about, which I think is just like still to this day, like you have some really healthy morning routine stuff that you do as well. Plus tell them what time you get up, which I think, I know a few people who do this, but not me. I don't get up quite this early. So.
I'm up about 5:15. My Stephen is working and he leaves at 6. So I get his lunch all ready and his bowl of oatmeal, and off he goes. And then I get right in with my various things that I have to do around the house, and then get on my computer and start doing research and finding people. And the day goes by very fast.
Yeah,
very fast.
And did you mention too that you do some like meditative type of stuff, and you're really get into, you do some stretching, I think you mentioned to me as well. And
well, to get moving, you got to get the blood circulating. So I do some, nothing real time consuming, but it's just some stretching, moving of my shoulders, my head, deep breathing. Mother was a yoga teacher, so I have that in my DNA, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
And in fact, she was a yoga teacher until she was like 85 years old. She lived to be 90.
Wow.
So,
okay. Yeah. So yeah, definitely get that blood circulating and those good habits. I think everybody thinks that it is this big commitment. It's really the consistency, right? Of it.
Yes.
So much
yes. It's something I do every day.
Yeah. And, we didn't talk about this, but one of the things that always, and it's just something to think about because but the number one reason that people end up in nursing homes is not from some major thing going on in their life. It's not from like having a heart attack. It's not from cancer. It's not from the number one reason people end up in nursing homes sooner than they should be is because, I don't know if this is really appropriate for the show, but they can't get off the toilet. They can't, because they're not staying active and they can't, so they lose their muscle mass and their muscle strength.
Yes.
And they can't take care of themselves. And that's actually the number one reason why our nursing homes are filled up, not all these ailments that you think about, but just more because they're not doing that consistent moving, which obviously you are. So.
Yes. I should put on one of those little wristwatches or whatever to see how many steps I take a day.
Yeah.
Because, and then working, being here at home, there's washing to do, there's vacuuming to do. So in between, you've got to fit all that stuff in too. But I think the biggest ability to keep active is to garden. And that is one of my favorite hobbies.
Yeah.
You're out there. There's nothing more wonderful than putting your hands in the dirt.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So not only are you keeping active, but you're really being connected back to earth too. And there's, we've talked about how people are disconnected when we walk around with rubber soles all the time and we're not outside. And when we are, we're, like we've lost that connection. So to be out there really digging, like you say, and reconnecting even is just there's so much energy that can come from that as well. So I know that you have this, what I call like really beautiful relationship with your grandkids. All right. And tell me about how many grandkids you have.
I have 6 grandchildren. The oldest one is 25. She'll be 26 in July. Mm-hmm. She graduated from Ohio State University and now lives the Ohio State University.
That was obnoxious. Sorry.
No. I say that and people who live elsewhere go, what?
I know.
And then they start mimicking me,
Then you I know. I just thought I'd throw it in there since we're both Ohio. Go ahead.
And then I have 3 grandchildren, 2 are twins that are all about 20. Well, the twins are 22 and their cousin Wyatt, my oldest grandson, he'll be 22 in April. Wyatt just recently graduated from West Virginia University and has a job in Dayton. With Northrop Grumman, and his background is environmental health safety engineer. That's his title.
Okay.
Emma and Olivia are at Ohio State, and they will graduate May 3rd. And Emma's going to be a dental hygienist, and Olivia's going to be a dietitian. And my 2 youngest grandchildren, Josh and Chloe, are freshmen in college. Chloe's at OU and Josh which is Ohio University.
Right.
And Josh is at Columbus State.
Good.
So those are my gifts.
Yeah, those are your gifts. And it's funny because I have 6 grandchildren as well, but all 6 grandchildren are under the age of 4. So actually 1 4-year-old and then everyone. So I've got all that to look forward to. And I know when we go, we have my stepdaughter has 4, and it's Ethan and then Bodie and Ansel and Kai. So there's 4 boys and they're all under the age of, or they're 4 or younger, and we're going there soon. And talking about someone who's going to need to be energized because it's like, it takes a village when they're that age. They're all running around and, they have unending energy, but you've been doing that. And you just spent the day with your grandkids, a couple of your grandkids yesterday, and we Olivia works at Whole Foods, but I took her to the other Whole Foods here in Dublin, and we had a very, very nice lunch, something not same kind of thing they have at the Lane Avenue one. And then we ended up at a greenhouse. They were looking for plants to put in their rooms in their apartment. Cool. And it was a new adventure for them. We go on adventures. So which I love, right? So you're going on adventures. And I think, I definitely want to do that more with my grandkids. Sometimes when you're in the craziness of life, like, when my boys were younger, I felt like there was so much that was going on, like the chaos of life, that now I feel like I get to really more fully appreciate that time with the grandkids, right? That's like it's a different bond in a way. I mean, it's not that it's any better or less, but it's just different. And I know you probably experienced that as well.
Yes, very much so. We've just done things that you wonder if they remember. Can I tell you about my questions?
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question. Like, I know you asked them.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll let you.
I'm thinking about appearing on the show, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got to go back to the grandkids. So one weekend I texted them. Notice I said it, texted them.
Yeah, you texted. Right?
And sent them 2 questions. And the first question was, what do you, I want to get it straight. Yeah, what do you remember that we did when you were younger, something that we did together? And the second question was, what recently do you remember, a memory? And it was very interesting to get the responses back from each one of them. My Wyatt said he remembers going to COSI, which we did a lot. And recently he remembers the fact that I was at his college graduation.
Very important.
A very good memory. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so each one of them, and I'm going to treasure those responses.
I mean, you bring up something that I think in some ways, first of all, the connection that you have with your grandkids, because you do say, hey, I recognize that times have changed. And I'm, yes, I might not be able to get you on the phone all the time, but I can text you and we can still have this back and forth. Not that it's meant to replace all dialogue, but there's a time where, you want to be able to connect with them. So, but also the fact that I think this is like a really cool thing that grandparents could do. Like, send them and say, what is a memory that you have, right? Like, so if any grandparents are listening to this, reach out to them, send them a text and say, hey, what's a memory you remember from your childhood that we did together? I mean, like you said, you're going to treasure that.
Yes. And what I'm finding is they want to go back to COSI. They want to go to the zoo. Now that they're adults, remembering what we did. Another thing we did was go to the Indian caverns in Powell, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And it was, they remember standing, it looks like a trellis coming down with water, and they could pan for gems. They called them crystals in their getting back to me on that. But, I said, fine, as long as I'm able to, we'll do it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, it's funny because I think that one of the things they've kind of found out now is this next generation coming up and some millennials, and I don't even know all the different, names I have for the breakdown. But one of the things they are finding is that the next generations actually appreciate not so much the stuff, but the experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so
I think they remember those more.
Yeah. So they keep, so I think just by creating that, you're creating all these beautiful memories and something that's really life-changing versus just another gadget or, whatever. And so I think it's wonderful. And obviously the other piece of this, as you know, is like keeping up with them, right? Because if you weren't doing the healthy things, then how would you?
Yes. I'm fanatical about eating clean, which clean is the new word for organic that I found out.
Okay.
And, we eat very healthy in this house, and very few things. I'd say my grocery shopping, at least 90%, if not a little more, are all fresh produce and fruit. Mm-hmm. And maybe a couple times a week we have chicken or turkey. But that, I think, is the fact that, we're healthy enough. We don't have to be running to the doctor for this, that, or the other. And like you mentioned at the beginning, I pride myself in the fact I don't need any medications. I don't need blood pressure. That always seems to be very, a person is very surprised you don't have blood pressure medicine, I don't need it.
Well,
I'm very much into herbs.
yeah,
And,
so the herbs are great, right? I want to just share something here real quick. So Cindy's watching today and she says, Judy is amazing. Can you see that? And
yes.
yeah, and then we have here someone saying hello to you. It must be someone, because I'm not sure. Abigail Abellon, Abellon, saying hello to you. I know that's a little sprinkle on your screen.
Okay.
And then we have someone here asking a question. Where is the Indian village again? And
Okay.
it's the cavern.
Oh, the Indian Caverns?
Yes.
Yeah. It's on Home Road in Powell.
Powell, Ohio. Yeah. So this
Powell,
is coming.
Ohio.
Oh, this is coming from Kelly Clark, and I don't. Kelly she's probably not too far. I mean, she's in Ohio, so she could definitely go there. Indian caverns are really cool. Yeah. So,
Yes.
and I know she has well, I met her son actually just recently, so I know. But anyway, with kids, it's a great place to take kids. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and get out.
And you go down 100 and some feet down into the cavern.
Yeah.
And that was something that two of the grandkids remembered doing back when.
Was the cavern? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so
yeah, the cavern.
So really, just it's about building this connection with your grandkids, and then how do your I mean, do you get feedback from your kids about this connection that you have with the grandkids?
Not really.
No,
they know I'm there.
Yeah,
and they know I'm available, and if I can help out,
yeah.
You do this. In fact, I've been babysitting a new puppy that my oldest son has.
Oh, the puppy, yeah.
And the puppy is now over 50 pounds, and I don't know how much longer I'll be able to take.
That's a horse. Yeah,
cute.
Yeah, I know, because I know one time I was talking to you. You were out walking the dog. So
yes,
yeah. So
yes.
So talk about some of the, you brought up about the herbs, and I just kind of wanted to, do you have some that you use really specifically for certain things that's, do you have any little tips around that, that you think health-wise that you use? And
well, health-wise, I am very adamant about non-toxic, I have an acre of property and we do not spray the grass. So in the spring, it's yellow because the dandelions are blooming. And I've gone out and picked dandelion greens. I've dried them. They're wonderful for cleansing. And the dandelion flower is the first flower available for the bees. And I'm another fanatic in that respect. We got to save the bees.
We got to save
them. And I have fields. Yeah, but there's fields around me. So, and my neighbors, fertilize and put all this stuff on their yards and so forth.
You want to go?
And we have a well. And I'm concerned about stuff going into the, it's a shallow well for our water. And so,
yeah,
I know I'm just particular about that. And as far as my herbs, I've done this for years. Mother started me on it many years ago. And, parsley tea is good for keeping your blood pressure down. The dandelions, like I said, for cleansing. Mint is good for cleansing. It's almost like you have to be active and keep tabs on what's available. And the fact that we have the internet, it's there for you to get information. Yes, kind of make sure that you're getting the information from a valid person, like the Herbal Society or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and one of my kind of rule of thumb is whenever I'm searching anything and I really want it, I literally look to about the third page of the results versus the first page, because the first page is a lot of advertising and a lot of people pay to be there, and you don't really know if you're getting good information. So I usually don't even, the first page I skim, and the second page I skim, and I get to about the third page, and then I feel like you start to really get to some of the more, for pun intended, organic content, right? about whatever the topic is.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's an important thing. But you bring up a really, really good point, and you also bring up a good point about the dandelions. And I think there's this tendency that we, like they're there for a reason. And I know that there's an article I just read about how the brains of baby bees are now being altered because of the pesticides. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and it's killing them. It's killing the bees.
yes.
And we need the bees. If we didn't have the bees, we wouldn't have food.
Well, I mean, people don't even think about it, but literally, if we don't have bees, we're history.
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
yes. I heard once that it started a while ago, but in China, the elderly go out and pollinate the plants by hand.
Okay.
Because they don't have bees to do it.
Because they don't have bees, yeah. So, yes, we so I think just being aware of all of that, and I'm sure that's stuff that you share with your grandchildren as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And they know, yes. Right?
Yeah, they know.
Yeah. But that it's all important, right? And if we really, I mean, as you know, my heartbeat for this show is that we get to get on here and we get to have these conversations at the kitchen table or, wherever we're having them, but that we are going to create a positive ripple out in the world. And if we really want to do that, it does start with our kids, right? It starts with us, yes. And that connection we have with our kids, but it's not just about what we do at the table. It's about what happens when we leave the table and how we show up in the world. And so all this information that, like this is the time to really be sharing this information with your kids so that they can make healthy choices, understand, be more connected, right, in general to people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. So technology is great. Obviously, that's why we're here right now, because of technology, doing the show, right? But
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So it's not that it's bad, but there has to be that balance. And I think for kids that are so ingrained into that other space, and it's nice to join them there, but it's great because now because you join them there, you have that relationship that allows you to educate them back the other direction as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you don't realize, in talking to people, they say, oh, it's expensive to eat healthy. Well, our comeback is, what would you rather do? Pay doctor bills, $200 a visit, or go out and buy clean food and or grow it yourself?
Yeah.
And it kind of takes it. Because back when I was younger, you never heard the word organic because everything was organic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing too is that if you ask people like, okay, over here I have your health and over here I have money, which one's really more important to you at the end of the day? Mm-hmm. Right? They're going to choose your health because if you don't have your health, it doesn't matter how much money you have.
Correct.
So the excuse of it costs too much, you can't afford not to.
And you have to be aware of what to look at. I heard this from somebody that read about it from a educated person. And if you buy something that's prepackaged, and a good amount of our stuff is prepackaged, the food, and you look at the ingredients, I'm big on reading ingredients.
Yeah, you have to read a lot of labels.
If it's more, yes, read the label. But if the amount of stuff that they're putting in the ingredients is more than an inch, if it's like 2 inches, don't buy it. Mm-hmm. Because it's just filled with non-food. Mm-hmm. And it's filled with chemicals.
Yeah, good for you. So I expect that we'll do a show on your in next decade, because you'll still be bouncing around when you're 90, or maybe you'll be a centenarian. We already would know that for sure. And you're such a beautiful example of, I think, just how you sort of take on life, and not a lot, because a lot of times I think people get to this age and they go, well, you know what, they start shrinking, but you haven't. You're out there making it happen, and I love it. And so glad we reconnected recently as well. But as you know, and we talked about this, I love to end every show with sort of a drop of thought, a pearl of wisdom, but we call it a drop of thought. And so I wanted to have you share, and then I will close it out with my drop of thought. But what is your drop of thought for our audience that's listening today?
Well, as you said at the beginning, this is a new adventure for me to be on streaming. So it's never too old to have a new adventure.
You're never too
And
old.
I've just had a new adventure.
Yeah,
You're
it's
never
good for
too
you.
old.
Yeah, and I know, because you're like connecting everything. You did great, and you're amazing. And thank you for being here, Judy, today.
Pleasure.
My drop of thought is, and normally I say I have one that I'm using, but I really think I'm going to switch to this one because it really encapsulates the show. But that, ripples don't flow in, they do flow out. Nature demands it. And if we really want to see change out in our world, it starts in our own homes with our own families first and foremost. So thank you again, Judy, for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of the Kitchen Table Conversation Show. And anyway, thank you for all who watched today and who join us later. And we'll be back again.